Hey everyone, James here from TDB, bringing you another Inbetweenisode, and today is actually a retaste from something I had last year, and that tea is the Taste of Hong Kong 2008. So kind of an interesting tea. You would think from the description it'd be a very typical, buy for Hong Kong storage. It's been called Taste of Hong Kong. Good name for the marketing, and I think as a result of kind of the name and because it's a pretty reasonable price point. I didn't look it up before recording this, but it was cheap last year, at least when I bought this cake. I think a lot of people did end up purchasing this tea, and as a result, it was also one of the first ones I had too, along with some of their ripe. But for me, it was not necessarily a hit right off out the gate. I did measure the generated relative humidity, or I had my friend do it, basically by putting the cake in a Mylar bag with a hygrometer and sealing it for a few days. And it was generating 41 RH, which is definitely on the low end. For instance, stuff that comes out of my Pu'erh storage usually is at least 60, if not higher. And so it was measuring dry. And so I thought, okay, maybe I will put this in the Eurocave, and I filmed an episode and talked exactly about that, thinking I would pull it out in a few months and drink it over the course of the summer, which would have been summer 2021. I did not get around to that, clearly, but I did put it in the Eurocave for about a year, and then I pulled it out and measured the relative humidity, and now am drinking it for the first time now. So you can see brewing a fairly dark color. I'll probably do one more brew. It's sort of, this fits the niche of sort of like my good morning brews. So I'm doing the big blue pot that I am using just about every morning to make a big mug of ripe or traditionally stored raw for my wife, as well as myself, and something I can drink throughout the day. And so this is the first retest, but again, I'm on steep number 5 or something like that here. So brewing a nice dark color, and yeah, let's. I will get another brew going as well. So definitely has that sort of mushroomy, danky smell. I would say nose-wise, nothing would indicate that this is necessarily atypical of a Hong Kong stored chung. I guess I should probably describe a little bit more about what I found on my first tasting of this about a year ago. And I found that it just had this edge to it that I really didn't care for. An extra astringency, a little bit more of a green edge to it, despite brewing such a dark color. And part of what I was speculating is that part of that could be drying out. And so of course, you can't be totally confident about these things, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to rehumidify it, thinking that maybe that drying out may have done it. So the aroma is coming through nice and clear. Yeah, pretty standard aroma, I would say. Using a pretty standard ratio. I think there's about 8.5 grams, 170 milliliters. Let it hang out for a second while I try this cup. So definitely the base profile is about what you'd expect. Sort of this very earthy, smooth brew to it. Soft as well. But it does leave this sort of lingering, astringent, bitter thing. And so that has not gone away, unfortunately. I think, it's always hard because you're judging so much off of memory. But I will say I do think it has reduced a little bit. But I'm talking about something like a 25 to 35% reduction rather than 65 or 70. So it's still there, which makes me think that it is kind of inherent in the tea. And I don't know if I mentioned, but when I did that Mylar bag test again this time, as is typical of stuff coming out of my storage, it was generating about 60 relative humidity. So, yeah, I would say for me at least, this is definitely not my preferred morning brew. Something I could drink, but definitely not totally ideal for me, if I'm being 100% honest. So, yeah, it makes me think, I don't hate it, but this is definitely one that I will probably put into very deep storage because I don't think there are going to be any short-term fixes here. I also, to speculate a little bit about what went wrong with the cake. Possible that it was processed too much like green tea pu'erh. I'm not totally sure. But if I were Yeon, I would consider marketing another tea over this one, just because I really don't think this is too typical of Hong Kong, like the Hong Kong storage I prefer, or even of the Yeon teas. At this point, I've tried probably 20 or so Yeon teas, and for instance, I really am a fan for, as sort of a daily drinker, 2008 raw, the Jiangchen. I think a lot of their very affordable ripes are quite good as well. So I think there are definitely some alternatives that you don't need to put all your eggs into the Taste of Hong Kong bucket. So yeah, anyways, let's have another steep of this, see if anything has changed. Another thing I'm going to note, just that bitterness has continued to linger in a way that I do not particularly enjoy. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. There's something about it that's just very green and a little just rough on the end, and just has that astringent quality. And it's kind of a real mismatch with the color that we're getting from this. So I think I'm going to safely rule out that it was just the tea arriving to be dried out. Well, I think rehumidifying it has kind of juiced it up a little bit, improved the aroma, and probably got it into a little bit better condition. I think it's pretty clear to me, just because these notes are not particularly subtle at this point, that there's something else going on with this tea as well. And I think there's been a lot of people that have noted this. I don't know if other people have rehumidified it, but it's also worth noting that most Yeon teas out the gate are pretty ready to brew and don't have the same sort of flaw here. So big fan of Yeon teas. Go check them out. Not particularly a fan of this individual productions, but let me know if your experience has differed. I think this would be more like if you really like this specific profile, and kind of like that weird mix of just strong astringency with kind of earthy tones, which is just a real mismatch for myself. Then you might like this tea, but I think if you're looking for more of the typical, or in my opinion, the typical Hong Kong taste, something like the Jiangchen and like a couple of the ripe cakes like the Purple Ripe or the Best Taste Ripe Blend, those would be excellent ones to try out, and none of those are particularly expensive either. So thank you all for tuning in. Let me know how you like this episode. Let me know how you like Yeon tea. I'll see you all next time.